Hello everyone, it's Indriani and today I'm going to do my final assignment on film and media studies. So the question that I choose, the first one, television series often depict recent events or debates happening in the society, either to make sense of what is happening in real life through narrative fiction or simply just to be a part of the debate and presenting a critical perspective on it. Analyze how the television series The Crown depicts the issue of gender and power relation on intersectionality. Use the textual elements to support your arguments.
The Crown is a Netflix historical drama series that tells the story of Queen Elizabeth II's reign in England. I'm going to focus on analyzing the issue of power relation in Season 3, Episode 2, titled Margaretology, by exploring how each textual element helped to tell each story in the series. First, the editing greatly helps the narrative by beginning the episode with a flashback of the Princess Elizabeth and Margaret as young girls. They discuss how younger sister Margaret, though by law she cannot be queen because she is not the firstborn, wants to do the job, has more confidence in her natural ability, and might be better at being queen. They decide to find out if they can switch places. There's a scene from the show's present day in which Margaret and her husband discuss her life as it is contrasted with how it should have been. Then the opening credit began. Later in the episode, Elizabeth decides that she needs Margaret's help with diplomacy in the United States, and Margaret has succeeded in charming President Johnson at a White House dinner. So then Margaret asks Elizabeth to give her more duties. It seems as if the show tells us that Margaret is somehow capable of the royal duties and that she thinks she would be the perfect face to represent British people. Also, we know internally Elizabeth feels that she's the boring one. Although the queen is tempted to do that, she is persuaded by her husband Philip that it is safer for the monarchy and the country to keep things the way they are.
Princess Elizabeth's destiny is to accede to the throne. Yours is to serve and support. I would urge you to accept your position in life and to dismiss forthwith any childish notions about rewriting the rule book so that it might better suit your character.
In that short flashback clip, when the young Margaret is being scolded for daring to ask if she and her sister could change places, Lassell is shot from approximately her eye levels, so he looks exceedingly stern and intimidating while the young Margaret is completely powerless.
Moving on to another element, color and lighting. Margaret is consistently shown wearing livelier and more colorful fashions than her more conservative older sister. As Margaret arrives at the White House, the facade of the building is well lit with warm light in contrast to grey Buckingham Palace, suggesting that the older, struggling country might find the hope and help from the prosperous younger nation. The light could also symbolize Margaret coming out into her natural, if not traditional place in the spotlight at last. In a scene where Margaret asks the Queen for more public duties, the sisters are both wearing green as Elizabeth and Margaret get little digs in at each other about how they envy about each other's life. Another scene when Prime Minister Harold visits the Queen to tell her about her sister's lively performance at the White House dinner, using humorously understated phrases such as less than discreet and a little off color. They sit in the Queen's room, which as usual is softly lit with a colored palette of grays and pastels. The Queen is expecting to hear bad news during this conversation with the Prime Minister, and the subdued atmosphere fits his hesitance and embarrassment as well as her reluctance to hear the inevitable. According to Silverblatt et al., gray tones can signify discomfort and dim lighting can indicate something hidden. While Margaret is proud of her turn in the spotlight, the Queen and Prime Minister would prefer not to bring her behavior out in the open. Lighting is in a dramatic ways throughout the whole episode. The dark hills, rainy and gray weather combined with the dimly lit interiors of the humble buildings in the village create a suitable mood appropriate for grief, mourning, and death. At the end of the devastating funeral service for dozens of children, some beams of light barely get through the gray sky as they sing. This light could represent several things. It could be the mourner comforted slightly by the thought of the children's soul being lifted up. It could be comfort from God or funeral assemblage or both. However, it is giving a tiny bit of hope to the community that they can live through this catastrophe. During the funeral scene, we are shown the close-up of Philip's face, and perhaps the light on Philip's thought represents his enlightenment on how to advise the Queen in helping the community to heal. The second question that I chose is how the television series The Bridgerton depicts the issue of marriage and gender roles, female sexuality, or intersectionality between race and gender, using the textual element to support my argument. The Bridgerton provides a blueprint for British period shows in which black characters can thrive within the melodramatic storylines, extravagant costumes, and bucolic beauty that makes such a series so appealing without having to be servants or enslaved. The show discusses intersectionality, race, and gender. The show highlights on Daphne and Simon's relationship. In this show, Simon's character cast by people of color and the romance later turned into interracial marriage. The show displays race baiting. Race baiting is claiming to address racial issues but not following through. The show is problematic because it was marketed as a show that incorporated color and race into a historically inspired universe, but color and race were never considered, although they are part of the show. It's barely discussed within the actual show until halfway of the series, and it's never mentioned explicitly.
You think that just because I'm a woman, I'm incapable of making my own choices?
In this scene, such a question might be common as it was set in London, England in the 1800s, when young women expected to meet and marry men not necessarily for love but for their own family's fame and fortune. Such is the case of Daphne in the first season of Bridgerton, which finds the 18-year-old after facing gossip of her romance with Simon Basset, the Duke of Hastings. Their goal is to restore Daphne's good name and her family's and to keep Simon free and clear of wives-in-waiting. Initially, they don't like each other because Simon is arrogant and Daphne is naive, but Daphne accidentally sets up on marriage with an older man who is not very attractive and forces her into marriage and gives her sexual assault. Her brother somehow agreeing before that, and since no one else wants to be with her. But the pretentious romance with Simon slowly turns into real love and he becomes her choice. Even though Daphne isn't the idea of the feminist today because she does confirm, her strength comes from saying no. She's not a yes person, she stands up to her brother and she stands up to things that she doesn't agree with. Inside, Daphne is dealing with her own anxieties. She's displaying one thing outwardly, but inwardly she is feeling very different.